is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us.
Next up, we have Mike from GridMap. Mike, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can jump right into your pitch.
Hi, everyone. I'm the co-founder and COO of Grid Matrix. We're building a new way to approach infrastructure, AI for large cities, ports, and airports. We were founded 4 years ago. We are now post-revenue. We're raising an additional $1 million on an existing priced round that was led by 8VC. It's a $9.2 million pre-money valuation. We're filling out last $1 million. Company overview. So we optimize critical infrastructure. So kind of the current way that cities and port operators operate is they essentially use best practices from civil engineering firms and from kind of aggregated anecdotal knowledge that's accumulated over the last 50 years. What we're doing is allowing these operators to turn their sensors, especially their cameras, into data sets that can actually be used to make data-driven decisions. So we're kind of moving infrastructure into the 21st century. So specifically what we do is we stream sensor data into the cloud and use computer vision to convert it into a data set that shows an understanding of the 3D world around them. So cars, pedestrians, cargo, ships moving through space. So we're cloud-based and scalable. We already have 9 current customers, including one of the world's largest ports, Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. 2024, we had $550K in revenue. The market that we're playing into, as I mentioned, is about $1 trillion civil engineering market. And we're located in Austin, Texas. What's the problem that we're actually solving? Governments have data and need data and already have a lot of sensors that are dumb sensors that are just sitting there passively monitoring what's going on. So think a camera that just passively monitors an intersection or what's happening in a port. But they have a ton of questions about what's happening in their infrastructure. The airport operator wants to know, how often are cars actually sitting on my curb for more than 5 minutes, requiring me to send someone to move them? Port operator wants to know, I want an alert for when a vessel docks and when it leaves, so that I can cycle through the ports and maximize my occupancy. The city transportation manager wants to know, what are my top 5 most dangerous intersections and what can I do to ameliorate that? So the solution, we make existing sensors smart. So as opposed to our competitors who sell new hardware, we plug into existing cameras and sensors. So we're hardware agnostic. And we can turn this data into actionable insights and KPIs across 4 key categories, including safety, emissions, idling time. We're built for infrastructure. We deliver live data and historical data on facility operations. We're built for operators of large, complex infrastructure. So to go into exactly how this works, because I know I'm saying a lot of high-level things, when we engage with a customer, we essentially receive IP addresses that connect to their existing cameras, and we stream that that sensor data, the video streams into the cloud. We process it in the cloud, use computer vision and AI, convert that into a physical data set that just shows objects moving through space, and then we serve that data set back to them, both via an API and a dashboard. We like to show this slide to talk about how essentially the value of our product scales over time. The value of our data set increases the more sensors and the larger number of customers we have. We can use the data set to drive actionable insights, which provides value to the customers. They then want to plug us into more sensors, builds our data set, and which drives more ROI. Here's an existing customer use case. We're now plugged in at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, one of the largest airports in the country. They're using us on the roadside of the airport to analyze their curb use, analyze traffic patterns, understand, especially even when certain parts of their parking lots are being heavily utilized, They want to reduce emissions, and they want to have alerts and notifications when certain events occur. On the air side, so facing the inside of the airport, managing their fleet vehicles, cargo visibility, and security and threat detection. This is our engagement at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We're optimizing their container port, similar uses, but mitigating truck queuing, optimizing loading and unloading times, reducing emissions, sending alerts and notifications, and like DFW, managing fleet vehicles. As I mentioned, we already have 9 paying customers, some very notable logos that give us a lot of presence in the space. It's a copycat space, so if you have larger, reputable customers, it's easy to sell into new customers. We achieved about 580K of bookings and gross AR in ARR last year, and intend to hit about 1.5 to 2 million this year. Our contract size scales as deployments go on, so our average contract size will increase to 300 or 400K this year. It tends to be a crawl, walk, run model where you do an initial POC and then a larger engagement with, say, 10 to 50 sensors, and from there you can grow to multi-million dollar size contracts. Can share this presentation later, but we have a large qualified pipeline. A lot of this occurs in RFP submissions that we are currently awaiting the result of, as well as renewing and upscaling our current customers, especially the Port Authority, which should occur next quarter. A proxy for understanding how large this market is to understand the number of projects that get submitted that require this kind of software, hardware agnostic AI software for transportation. Since we founded that, the number of projects that get put out for proposals has probably doubled or tripled every year. I think in our first year, there was probably a handful. And this year, it looks like there's going to be a few hundred. So it's good timing. Clearly, the market's growing. As I mentioned, our TAM, we're competing with large civil engineering firms who also probably will represent likely acquirers of our company, big public players in the space such as Jacobs, AECOM, and Parsons. This is our founding team, and actually our CEO, Nick, just joined, so he can probably participate in the Q&A. But he came from Apple, where he managed their global supply chain for the 5G product. Before that, he came from McKinsey and Yale Business School. Myself, I've been working for startups for 10 plus years, and before that, I was a quantitative analyst. And our head of engineering, Eric Valasek, came from NATO, which produces OEM or camera vision for OEM car companies such as Mercedes-Benz. Getting to the round dynamics, as I mentioned, it's a $9.2 million pre-money valuation. We've closed 2.2 million, and we're looking to fill out another 1 million to get us to 3.3 total. It was led and underwritten by our large inside investor, 8VC, and its partner, Alex Moore, who joined the board as part of the round. He's also on the board of Palantir. We see a lot of similarities between ourselves and Palantir as we're seeking to disrupt a large incumbent consultant market. And I'll stop there and pause for questions.
Awesome. Thanks for that presentation on Grid Matrix. If we have any questions from the audience, feel free to drop them in the chat. Ron, do you have a question for Mike or Nicholas?
Yeah, again, great presentation and looks pretty novel. I was hoping if you can go into a little bit more on the sales cycle, right? Because whenever you're pitching to basically municipalities and quasi-government organizations, it can take quite some time. And so I was just curious to understand a little bit more about how long it takes to get through the crawl, walk, run kind of stages, and also how sticky have the trials been? If you had anybody peel off as you've been going through the software adoption process.
I can take that. First of all, can everyone hear me? Because it's the first time that I've tried to speak in here.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so the point of the sticky flywheel slide is that we've actually never churned a customer. We have 100% retention rate. The flip side of that is that it is hard to catch the tiger by the tail here. Government customers do have a long sales cycle. For a brand new logo, probably anywhere from 9 to 12 months, really to get up and running with them. But at the same time, once you do get them, they don't switch, and our renewal sales cycle is like 3 months or less. As we come up on like the end of a deployment, upselling, renewing, that entire process usually takes about 3 months. Did that answer your question, Ron?
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Ron, do you have any other questions? Anyone from the audience? It looks like we don't have any other additional questions. Well, thank you for your presentation, Grid Matrix. I will be sending over any information that we pull from today to you guys. Now we can go into Ron's presentation.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.